If there's one thing better than getting a great game, it's getting a great game that comes packed in with excellent bonus content. Whether that be pre-order bonuses designed to entice customers to pick up their copy early, or extravagant special editions that are crammed with goodies for fans to get excited about. These extras have the potential to make an amazing game even better. However, not all additional content is made equally. While there are plenty of great games that have been enhanced by their more premium editions, there have been times when the bonus content was far superior to the actual game. From pre-order bonuses that revolutionize the experience of playing the game for the better, to jaw-dropping models and must-have items that came with pricier versions. These games were overshadowed by these items. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 pre-orders better than the game itself. Number 10, Alone in the Dark 2008, Limited Edition. A reboot of the classic survival horror game of the same name, 2008's Alone in the Dark follows the gruff-voiced paranormal investigator, Edward Carnby, as he fights his way through a demon-infested Central Park in order to defeat a sinister cult. Although this title boasted some impressive fire mechanics alongside some other innovative ideas, the entry is pretty widely seen as the worst in the franchise. Not only did this game suffer from some of the most infamous driving controls in modern games, it also contained some laughably bad dialogue, as well as awkward melee combat. Though there was some reprieve from buyer's remorse from those who picked up the limited edition version of the game, which was only available in Europe. Packaged within a slim box, this version contained a small but detailed statue of Edward, an art book, and a Making of Alone in the Dark DVD that was packed full of behind-the-scenes content. However, the real jewel of this edition was a copy of the bombastic orchestral soundtrack, one of the best parts of the whole game. Number 9, Metro Last Light 2013, Ranger Difficulty. The sequel to 2010's Metro 2033, Last Light saw players return to post-apocalyptic Moscow, covered with terrifying creatures. Here, players once again took control of returning protagonist Artyom as he journeyed further into the dark and claustrophobic Metro system, coming up against different factions of survivors and supernatural terrors along the way. Containing a gripping story that was drenched in an eerie atmosphere and punctuated with genuinely suspenseful sequences, Last Light was far from being a bad game. In fact, it was an incredible one. However, there was one way to make this excellent game even better, and that's with Ranger difficulty. Although this difficulty could only be picked up if you pre-ordered the game or grabbed it as a separate piece of DLC. Advertised as the intended way to experience the game, this mode removed the HUD, reduced the amount that players could carry, and increased the amount of damage that was received and dealt, alongside drastically limiting resources. Although this setting provided a greater challenge than the regular difficulties, it offered the optimum Last Light experience. Not only did this mode improve immersion, but the focus on survival complemented the taut moment-to-moment gameplay, which made everything about this game even better. Number 8, Aliens Colonial Marines 2013, Collector's Edition. Since its launch in 2013, it's safe to say a lot has been said about the colossal disappointment that was Aliens Colonial Marines. Intended to act as a direct sequel to James Cameron's classic sci-fi action film, this title followed a new squad of Marines embarking on a mission to discover what happened to the soldiers from the 1986 film. Much like Hicks and his squad mates though, this new batch of gun-toting soldiers found themselves swarmed by xenomorphs. After being stuck in development hell for 7 years, Colonial Marines would release to critical scathing thanks to its shoddy graphics, disappointing gunplay, and plethora of bugs, one of which was a typo in the coding that broke the aliens' AI. What isn't talked about, though, is how good the Collector's Edition was. In addition to containing a sizable amount of bonus DLC that let players play as characters from the movie, Aliens fans would get a genuinely cool resin statue of a xenomorph attacking a power loader, which was reminiscent of the iconic scene from James Cameron's film. While fair enough the items don't exactly stack up to how crap the game was, I think we can all agree looking at the sick statue was a lot more fun than playing the game. Number 7, Thief 2014, Limited Edition. A reboot of the classic stealth series, 2014's Thief once again saw players step into the cowl of professional thief Garrett within the steampunk-inspired city that he calls his home. As players progressed through the game, however, it soon became clear this title did a poor job of making them feel like they were playing as an accomplished criminal, thanks to some genuinely awful enemy AI. Likewise, immersion was pretty much totally shattered when players realized that the open world they thought they were exploring was really just a bunch of hallways cobbled together between loading screens. The only way players could get the Master Thief experience was if they pre-ordered the game or picked up the limited edition version to get the exclusive bank heist mission. Tasking players with infiltrating a highly secured bank to pilfer a vault's contents before making their escape, this mission was everything that fans of the Thief series could have asked for. From skulking in the shadows to get past guards and cameras, figuring out how to disable alarms, and sorting out what the vault code is, this mission made you feel like a proper thief. Put simply, this bonus mission was better than anything the main game had to offer. Number 6. Jump Force 2019 Collector's Edition. Commemorating the 50th anniversary of the weekly Shonen Jump magazine, Jump Force was set to be an explosive fighting game which boasted a gigantic roster of over 40 fighters, from a wide berth of beloved manga series, including Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Bleach. While having all these fan-favorite characters promised for a pretty exciting fighting game, unfortunately it ended up falling short of the mark. Although combat was as fast and frantic as any of the action scenes from the pages of the manga, everything else about this crossover was disappointingly lackluster. The plot was forgettable and flat thanks to an absence of dialogue and cutscenes, the gameplay lacked the depth of other contemporary fighting games, and the character models and animations were distractingly off. The only way to not be completely disheartened by purchasing this one is if you got your hands on the collector's edition. In addition to the eye-catching art cards and steelbook, the main reason for acquiring this edition was to get the massive diorama featuring highly detailed models of Naruto, Luffy, and Goku standing together on top of the Jump Force logo. More than worth the admittedly extravagant $260 price tag, this statue would be a prize piece for anybody. Number 5. Dark Souls 2 2014 Collector's Edition. Dark Souls and Dark Souls 3 are frequently considered to be some of the best games ever made, thanks to their intricate world building, stunning soundtrack, and notoriously challenging but epic boss fights. The second game, however, has been treated as an outsider by fans. While the outing into Drangelic contains some of the same flavor of tough but fair combat, as well as implementing some interesting ideas, Hidetaka Miyazaki's absence from the helm meant the game lacked the same creative spark as the rest of the series. The result was a challenging but bland version of Dark Souls that resulted in some of the most hated bosses and areas in all of the franchise. What wasn't disappointing for fans, though, was the stunning collector's edition. Included in this bundle was a hardbound art book, cloth map of the game's world, and a copy of the awesome soundtrack. The main attraction for this pricey edition, though, was a stunning statue of the knight featured in the game's trailers. If that wasn't insane enough, the Japanese collector's edition actually came with some replica weapons from the game. Number 4. Batman Arkham Knight 2015 Limited Edition. The third and final entry into the Arkham trilogy, Batman Arkham Knight, saw the Caped Crusader set loose in a crime-infested Gotham City to stop Scarecrow from unleashing his fear toxin on the population. Much like the other Arkham games, this title included the series' signature slick combat and a bunch of new baddies to encounter. This game made players feel like Batman as much as the previous entries did. However, a predictable story and overuse of the Batmobile would unfortunately end this trilogy on a sour note. What fans weren't disappointed in, though, was the flashy limited edition release they could get their hands on. From Arkham Asylum offering customers their own replica Batarang, to Origin's stunning statue of Batman and Joker, the trilogy is known for not skimping on its collector's editions, and Arkham Knight was no different. Included alongside a steelbook, an 80-page art book, and a limited edition comic, the centerpiece was a magnificent memorial statue of the Dark Knight that was dripping in both quality and detail. There was also a version that came with the Batmobile, which was pretty cool unless you played with the Batmobile and then you probably had enough of that car for a lifetime. Number 3. Resident Evil 3 Remake 2020 Collector's Edition. With their remake of Resident Evil 2, Capcom didn't just breathe new life into the acclaimed survival horror classic. They set a new benchmark for what video game remakes could achieve. More than a retelling of the 20-year-old game, the story actually revolutionized Leon and Claire's journey while still maintaining the foundations of what made the original great. However, this wasn't true for the remake of Resident Evil 3. Although the shiny new graphics and modern controls made Jill Valentine's battle for survival in Raccoon City a visual spectacle, its incredibly short length and lackluster finale stopped this title from reaching the same Resi heights. What was up to the same standards as the other Resi remakes was this game's Collector's Edition. Like Resi 2's Collector's Edition, this version came in a box designed to look like the game's storage boxes. Inside, fans would find a soundtrack, art book, and double-sided map of Raccoon City. The main attraction, though, was an 11-inch statue of Jill Valentine's new character model, which looked just as good as it did in the game. Especially when paired with the figures from the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 4, Jill's statue makes the perfect addition to any Resi fans collection. Number 2. Cyberpunk 2077 2020 Collector's Edition. Now, to be fair, Cyberpunk 2077 has come a long way from the broken state in which it launched, and I personally am a huge fan of it. But even with the masses of updates and changes that have completely revolutionized the game over the past few years, its collector's edition nevertheless surpasses the game in terms of sheer quality, with it easily being one of the best video game editions in recent years. Inside the bright yellow packaging that is oh so Night City, there is a bunch of goodies for fans to enjoy. These include badges, sew-on patches, and stickers. There's also a weighty keyring of V's futuristic car, steelbook, a chunky hardback art book filled with stunning art from the game, and a guide to Night City that comes stored in an evidence bag. And that's not including the map, compendium, and art cards that come with the base game. The best part about this edition, however, is the gigantic statue of V leaping from a motorcycle. From the facial expression, weapons, and bike, the amount of detail that was put in this model's creation was emblematic of the passion of the team behind it. Cyberpunk 2077 is a superb game, but the collector's edition is even better. Number 1. WWE 2K20 2019 Smackdown 20th Anniversary Edition. The WWE games have seen their share of highs and lows throughout the years. However, no point in the series' life has been as woefully bad as WWE 2K20. With its myriad of bugs, atrocious character models that were a substantial downgrade from the previous iteration, forgettable career mode, and gameplay that was borderline unplayable, it's no surprise that the studio sat the following year out to rethink their approach to the series. Although this really cemented the game in infamy, it did have one redeeming quality, and that came in its premium edition. Dubbed the Smackdown 20th Anniversary Edition, the pricey collector's edition came with a lengthy list of additional in-game content, alongside limited edition cards featuring wrestling superstars Roman Reigns and Becky Lynch. The real reason to opt for this version, though, was to get some authentic wrestling memorabilia. Alongside everything else that came packed in this edition, players would also get their hands on an actual piece of the Smackdown ring skirt that was used from 2002 to 2008, as well as a signed plaque from either Kurt Angle, Edge, or Rey Mysterio. Even though the game itself was terrible, this impressive memorabilia turned it into a must-have for wrestling fans. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment section if you can think of any other pre-orders that you probably enjoyed more than the games they came with. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you're liking, come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.